And so as things continue to happen to me, I share them with you so you understand perhaps the difference of what you're feeling. Whether you've been watching this on YouTube and now you're in person, you've been coming to these events for a while, every single time we come together, I have gone through a series of upgrades and downloading new teachings that makes my energy and my transmission light years from what it was the last time we were together. Even if there's a week apart, I go through upgrades every day, only to have more and more experiences to report back to you as a foreshadowing of what's already awakening within you. And so because of the depth and magnitude of what has happened to me in the last 2 days, it is as if tonight is like a cosmic restart, where everything that you have gleaned and benefited in the videos up to this point bring us to a brand new beginning. And whether you're meeting us for the first time or you've been preparing for this to join us, you've been watching the videos and sensing, oh, this feels like something big's happening, let tonight be the night where you all understand and we finally say what that feeling of this is going to be big is the moment it starts. And I, for one, have been waiting and been preparing for this since I was 12 years old. This is where it gets really fun. And so as a lot of you know, what I offer is called a transmission of presence, which means I spontaneously say the words that are intuitively guided for me to say. And the energy that is emanating through the words is giving you a vibrational healing to awaken, clear, and activate whatever is ready to be healed, awakened, and activated, just by you listening to the words that I speak. And you don't have to decide what the words do and don't mean. A lot of it may resonate on a deep level, and you may not know why it feels so familiar, especially with what I'm going to say tonight. You may not know why it's familiar, but just let the familiarity be noticed. And know that there's not much you have to do in trying to keep what I say straight or remember it or anything like that. You just let it in. Let this transmission serve you. I've only gone through the journey I've gone through, and I've only become who I am to serve you. So let me serve you. And what an honor it is to serve you. So before I begin with the energy update of 2015, I want to just really briefly give you a very small taste of what happened to me in the last 2 days. And again, I'm used to having these very mystical experiences, and because I've gone through both the journey of awakening and know the mystical realms very well, I'm able to have these experiences in a very integrated way, to where I can have these experiences, understand what they symbolize, and not latch on too much to it, if that makes sense. Because you can't take things sometimes too literally, or else it can do the opposite. So every day I go through upgrades at a certain point, sometimes different times of day, and as my vibration has been increasing, I go through upgrades in a faster amount of time. What used to take me a month to go through an upgrade, what used to be an intense 4-hour process, now occurs in 3 minutes. And I went through an upgrade 2 days ago, where as I was going through an upgrade, I was guided by the ascended masters and archangels that I regularly communicate with, and they said, we have somewhere for you to go. And when that happens, I know what that means. So I lie down, and not knowing how I know how to do what I do, my consciousness goes out through the top of my head, and I go through the sky, and I find myself in this golden, palatial, heaven-like environment. And everything's golden and radiant. I'm being welcomed by all these beings, and I'm still having the experience of this consciousness, but I'm just kind of watching this like a movie. And again, if you're very grounded, you can enjoy it without getting too caught up in it. You just watch it. right? And all these golden light beings cheering your arrival, and you're like, oh, nice to see you. Hey, nice to see you. Hey, beautiful place here. You guys are really taking care of it. It's very, very golden here. Very golden. Very golden. Everything's very golden here. Wow. Wow. Must not be a lot of clothing stores in heaven because it would all be golden. Just golden stuff. So I go into heaven, and I'm then immediately brought to the Akashic Records, which is the library where all the soul contracts are. It looks like the Lincoln Memorial, and I find myself sitting around a light table with the Ascended Masters that I work with. And I'm experiencing these beings, not just as like a voice of consciousness, but as real beings, like real animated beings. And when you've had enough of these experiences, it can be surreal, but if it's too surreal in the beginning, it breaks the state and you fall out of it, if that makes sense. If you get too, oh my God, it ruins it. So you gotta learn to be like, oh my God, but in a very relaxed way. You gotta kind of just relax. Everything's gold here, oh my God. You gotta kind of like almost underplay it. Oh yeah, it's gold, it's nice. It's neat. Wow. Everyone's pure and perfect. All right. So I'm in the Akashic Records, sitting around a illuminated light table with the Ascended Masters. And there's Melchizedek, who, known as the teacher of Jesus, looks like Gandalf the Wizard. Archangel Michael next to him. Dwal Kul, a Tibetan master. Kuan Yin. Metatron. Saint Germain. And me. And I'm sitting there. In the beginning, when I'd have these experiences, it would feel really strange, like, oh my God, all these cast of characters, and me. What the hell am I doing here? What is Why am I here? But as you get used to it, you experience the reverence of it in a very casual way. So I'm sitting there. And what I saw happen was it was as if there was a golden light that connected all of us around the table until it just became a whirling vortex of golden light. And it was as if all of those masters united into one singular frequency. The frequency became this big tornado-like golden funnel where all of the light then poured through it, went through the ground, went through the sky, and through the top of my head, filling up every cell and exploded in every direction as I came back to my body. And what I heard was, we are now the living singularity of one eternal light, and from this moment forward will be known as the eternal divine I am. And so as tonight becomes a new beginning, I bring forth the living singularity of that galactic council, not as just a spokesperson of that group, but as that group being one consciousness that I am. And as you continue to evolve on this path, you will, in whatever way is meant for you to realize, every master you have ever imagined or will encounter will be seen as another strand of DNA throughout your radiant cosmic body. And you will go through the process of realizing yourself, forgetting what you're not, and embodying that which has been realized for the benefit of radiating it to a world of beings who are remembering themselves as well. We are here because this planet, for many, many years and centuries, since the beginning of time, really, has been preparing for the ascension of this planet. And what that means is the divinity that imagines itself as all planets and solar systems, its light and radiance of self-realized radiance has spread outwardly so dramatically that it's finally come to this part of the solar system where this entire planet could manifest into a brand new world of self-realized beings. It's like heaven sent its brightest souls to inhabit this earth so that they at this time could wake up and bring the heaven we came from into this realm for all. And before I get into the significance of 2015, which will be known as the year of the initiated soul, and explaining what that actually means, I want to give a little bit of backstory that will be relevant to you and so many that watch this video, who, for whatever reason you're drawn to this, are here because, on behalf of a galactic council, you are here for this briefing. In preparation for this time of acceleration, there have been very energetically sensitive beings, aware souls, what you call old souls, that have come to this planet to anchor an energy as a wonderful foreshadowing to the world, to let the world know your world is changing, a new consciousness is coming. And the foreshadowing isn't telling the world a new consciousness is coming, you got to get your act together. That's not how this works. That's how some people will interpret it, but that's a third-dimensional belief system. The foreshadowing is a new consciousness is coming, and if you want to have the greatest chance of experiencing it and the greatest time, go along with it. Otherwise, it will move you along. So this is one of these paths where you don't have to be afraid of being left behind, because you can't. You either get onto it or it drags you. It drags you until you go, I think we're going this direction. I'm going to walk now. That's awesome. That's awesome. I think we're going this way. Those who came to this planet to anchor the energy as the foreshadowing of ascension, the cosmic Paul Revere's. The archangels are coming, the archangels are coming. Those are known as the early indigos. Have you ever heard the term indigo children? Indigo, obviously, is a hue of the color blue. Color blue, referring to a blue star in the sky many of you may see, or blue sparkles you see, referring to a star called Sirius, where many indigo children come from. And again, I give very specific information that resonates with a wide variety of beings, because I don't like to get into the very specific nuts and bolts about all the different star systems and planets. It gets a little too technical, and it takes us out of the very heart space that brings forth the very ascension. So you could have this really overly technical knowledge of, well, you know, there's some indigos that come from, you know. And that doesn't mean you're embodying the frequency that brings this about. We're going to bring about this ascension, and there will still be people debating overly technical spiritual knowledge, oblivious to it. So again, just take what I offer you and just feel what resonates. The early indigos, often originating from the star system Sirius, come to this planet. They come to this planet to anchor an energy. Now, some of these early indigos are between the ages of 50 and upward. They feel in their lives like old souls. They are very drawn to spirituality. They sometimes play maternal roles. They tend to, in their family structures, to get caught up in people-pleasing and matriarchal roles. And the interesting thing about it in early indigos, they tend to get caught in what's called vibrational codependency. And that means they don't know how to hold their vibration until the people around them are in a different level of consciousness. So they tend to match other people's unconsciousness instead of hold an energy that picks everyone else up. And what's interesting about the early indigos is a lot of early indigos woke up in other lifetimes and became self-realized. They wanted to come here as an anchor of ascension to experience their own awakening, their own individual self-realization reflected back to them as an entire world waking up. To watch a replay of your own awakening, but through the eyes of an entire planet. And as anchors, a lot of them have forgotten how awake and aware and self-realized they are. So they came here and they anchored an energy for a new wave of indigos to come in. A new wave of indigos, star seeds, crystal children. Generally speaking, star seeds and crystal children originate from the Pleiades, and early and new indigos are from Sirius. Right? The early indigos are anchoring the energy with their journey, learning how to embody their light without lowering their vibration to match the unconsciousness of those in their family and people around them, and get overwhelmed by the pressure and energy of the collective unconsciousness. The new wave of star seeds and crystal children indigos come in with all these advanced abilities and intuitions, and the early indigos look at that and go, how come I don't have that? Not realizing they've already experienced that in a past life. And the trick with early indigos is learning that they're here to anchor the energy and not to get caught up in thinking they've got to go on this really intense spiritual journey to try to redo what they've already done. So for an early indigo between the ages of 50 and beyond, their journey is actually learning to be unattached from needing spiritual phenomena, to actually learn at the higher stages of awakening that it's the absence of spiritual phenomenon that is proof of the highest spiritual phenomenon. And then we have the new wave of indigos. I'm one of the new wave of indigos. There's also star seeds and crystal children. Now, these beings come in with very pronounced abilities. But you come in with very advanced abilities as a child who hasn't honed and mastered them. So in the very early stages of your life, it works against you. Like in my life, I would feel everyone's emotions as an empath and think that what I felt in their body was their opinion of me. So like an early indigo, I tried to make people feel better, thinking when they felt better, they would approve of me. That's the vibrational codependency. Then we have the star seeds and the crystal children, who a lot of times are the brightest innocent souls put in family structures to get to know the collective unconsciousness they came to be a part of shifting by being in families of some rather unconscious, caustic environments. They are beings that are so open and so sensitive, but don't have the confidence to be totally grounded in their body or know how to communicate and articulate their consciousness, especially when in conflict or in opposition to someone at a different level of consciousness. So the indigos are here to learn how to anchor their energy. The star seeds and crystal children are learning how to be grounded and fully be as articulate and to communicate and to step forward in courage to match and balance their sensitivity. And all of us, whether we resonate with being a star seed, a crystal child, an indigo, whether I say Sirius and something lights up inside of you, you see blue lights everywhere, whether I say Pleiades and something just calls to you, we are all in our own way have been brought together to evolve the way we've evolved through our lives for this moment of what is the chapter of ascension. It's not going to be a moment of ascension. It's like chapters of life. And this is actually, as we turn towards 2015, what we've all been waiting for. This is when everything actually really begins to accelerate. And the reason why, for a lot of us, the last 5 to 7 years have been so categorically intense, why the last 5 to 7 years have been so unbelievably spiritually intense, physically exhausting, emotionally tumultuous, right? Is because the last 5 to 7 years you have been going through such a process of incubation to prepare for the turning point of entering this new paradigm that 2015 brings to you. So for the last 5 to 7 years, you have most likely been going through what I call a stage of incubation. Now, in the stage of incubation, you are going through a process where your carbon-based DNA shifts over into crystalline DNA, right? You go from being a human being, thinking you're a physical material being with a deep spiritual drive, chasing after spirit, to being a fully embodied crystalline spiritual being or an energetic being, merely appearing human in form. And it's an interesting time because a lot of the teachings that have brought us to this point were designed to assist you through the incubation period. But how can those teachings be relevant when the incubation period ends? And as one of the leaders of the first wave of Ascension, this time of bringing 2015 into reality is the signifying moment that incubation for many members of the first wave, and if you're here and watching this, I'm probably speaking to you, it signifies that your long-awaited moment of incubation has completed. You've been in incubation, so the DNA of the carbon-based DNA switches over to the crystalline DNA. Sometimes it happens quickly, sometimes and oftentimes much slower in beings. And as that switchover happens, there's all these cellular memories in your body from whatever lifetimes, and it doesn't even have to be lifetimes that you lived out, but it's just imprints that you're carrying, because all of us are carrying imprints of memories and experiences, because what we are clearing out of our individual field is also being cleared out of the collective. So don't think of it like I came to this planet and I have all these cellular memories, because I racked up a huge bar tab in past lives. I know I came here to help the Ascension, but beforehand, I did some stuff. The truth is, all of your past life memories correlate to the imprints of the collective that you're shifting out of your individual experience as a way of lightening the load for the collective. And during the incubation process where the carbon DNA switches over to crystalline DNA, you are going through a constant purging process to release outdated beliefs, outdated ideas, judgments, conclusions, and cellular memories that as it's purged out of your field, you are seeing the effect that you are going to be having on the collective. Now, you as an individual become the first one that shows the progress of your journey. If you think that everything you're clearing in your individual field is yours individually, it actually keeps filling up and you keep clearing it until you see, this is my experience, but none of it's mine. It's just imprints of the collective. And as you start to see that, as you go through this 5 to 7 year incubation period, you start to feel like you're the first person in your world that has experienced this profound space. Because the profound space you've created through your healing and your purging, which occurs by being emotionally triggered, by the way. When you're emotionally triggered, it's the sensation of being healed, not showing you what needs to be healed. So it's very confusing that the old paradigm teachings are giving you tools as if the evidence of the way you behave is proof that you need to heal more, when actually the way you behave is showing you the healing you're already doing. In the new paradigm, we don't need complicated tools that we use to judge ourselves by. We need to actually see that on an energetic level, what's already happening is the greatest, most advanced healing transformation journey in existence, and just learn what's happening so we can support ourselves instead of berate ourselves while going through the most magnificent adventure in consciousness. And so as we've been clearing our energy field to lighten the load of the collective, as our DNA has shifted from carbon to crystalline DNA, we have come to know that the role of light workers is to constantly purge and clear, so when the crystalline DNA starts to ground and activate, we've created a necessary amount of space for it to come through and be embodied. And even as you start to realize, oh, thank God, what I'm clearing isn't mine, it's just the collective's. But then a lot of people, especially in the videos I've done recently, go, wait a second, I'm clearing for the collective. That's great, but I don't want to clear the collective forever. When does it end, right? It ends with the dawning of 2015. Because, yay! Because 2015 is the year of the initiated soul. So what that means is we have collectively cleared enough in the unconsciousness of the world. We've cleared enough out of ourselves to signify that the crystalline DNA is ready to fully activate and be embodied. And you may have had little glimpses of this in your life and then be disheartened that your few days of feeling good and joyful then goes back to the old. It's like you get a sneak preview of the crystalline DNA and the body goes back, but carbon's still here. Oh, here you are, this is who you really are, and back to the play. And as we've stayed very steadfast in just keep clearing, and for a lot of us, it's just been like, I'm on a spiritual journey, just looking and reaching for everything, because we're here on a mission. Every single thing we do is not being done because the ego has corrupted the spiritual journey and we're all just a bunch of spiritual addicts. We're actually here knowing what the hell we're doing. We just don't know that we know what the hell we're doing. We don't fit into the typical paradigm of world. We don't fit into the typical paradigm of spirituality. So the people that are actually here leading the way for an entire planet are like the bad news bears of consciousness. The misfits. The ones, right, that always felt like, why did I come here? What am I doing here? We're the ones that are emerging as leaders. And the shift from being the bad news bears, the misfits, to being leaders, pioneers, and guardians of this heart-centered consciousness occurs as 2015 dawns as the year of the initiated soul. And before I explain that and what that's going to look like, that means the reason why from the middle through the tail end of 2014, it might seem like relationships blow up, friendships disappear, plans you had don't turn out, right? It's because you are basically been taken through an accelerated process of clearing and finishing the soul contracts that need to be finished so that by 2015 you enter this doorway. See, like I said, it's not a matter of you might make the window. It's already happened. You've already made the window. And if you go along with it, it will be a pleasurable experience. And if you don't, you'll make the window by any means necessary. Really. And when life wants to get our attention and point us in a new direction, it gets pretty clear, doesn't it, at a certain point? When life is trying to evict you out of your old paradigm, it cranks up the heat. I mean, you can stay in your old paradigm, but life will evict you. It will. And for good reason. For good reason. So we're all going through Some of us have been going through a tumultuous 2014, not realizing that we are clearing so many soul contracts because 2015 is where all associations to carbon-based DNA, all association to earthbound beliefs, all associations to unconscious spiritual ideas, conclusions, compulsive behaviors, and for some of us, maybe it's been like in the last couple of years, all of a sudden things get more compulsive and compulsive because you're completing so many earthbound soul contracts that you tend to try to deal with it in more compulsive ways. But as we reach this new crystalline DNA, all that vanishes out of your field. So instead of being hard on ourselves, just realize, my God, I'm doing so much more energy work than I think I'm doing. And even if the way you deal with it is in a compulsive way or in a self-destructive way, just know that that too is resolving a soul contract. And if you could just take a moment and say, every single thing I say, think, act, and do is resolving a contract to lighten the load of the collective so that as 2015 dawns, I enter the year of the initiated soul and step into my fully activated crystalline DNA, you would be taking a step in the right direction in the shortest amount of time. Because I will tell you, every single thing you do, you think, you say, is on purpose from the highest authority. Don't wait till you return to heaven to be cheered by the golden angels and to realize how magnificent of a job you're doing, because we've already done the ascension. This is like a movie, and we've done this so many times because you know what the one thing we've never done? We've never enjoyed the process. So 2014 ends with clearing as many soul contracts as possible so that all attachments to carbon-based DNA, to earth-bound beliefs, to third-dimensional paradigms, even third-dimensional spiritual paradigms, right? All of a sudden, there was like teachings that resonated with you and like literally overnight, like none of it makes sense anymore. It's because you're shifting out of carbon DNA. The teachings that talk about, here's a way to experience yourself as more than just a person. We're actually entering a year on this planet where for many of us, we're no longer living as people. We look like people, but our experience is no longer of being people. We're shifting into crystalline DNA. And during this year of the initiated soul, you no longer have to play the role of being the cosmic janitor cleaning up the collective unconsciousness. No longer, because your role is shifting, and we shift into a new paradigm. With crystalline DNA, you're no longer mopping up the collective mess. You are becoming a multi-dimensional light bearer of a heart center consciousness. And all the space you've cleared in yourself is to be a hollow vessel that brings forth a new energy that radiates it out for the rest of the world to absorb. And do you want to know what comes also with crystalline DNA and embodying this heart center consciousness and being a torchbearer of a new light? The ability to manifest your vibration into tangible form, which means for so many of us that have been incubating and clearing and purging and going through such meager existence just to go through the deepest surrender, will now have the ability to spontaneously and effortlessly manifest abundance. That's another big one, isn't it? And a lot of you go, oh my God, where's that been? Because here's the thing, a lot of us go, I want to manifest abundance. I should take a manifest abundance course. That would probably work. Right? That makes sense. But if you don't know, the universe is taking care of you, even if it looks like on meager levels, even if you're barely scraping by, you're only being put into that situation because you are put in the exact situations to inspire the deepest surrender, to purge the deepest cellular memories, to create the proper amount of space, to become the kind of anchor of crystalline light that you will now become in this new year. And you've always been taken care of. And of course, if you're stuck in any kind of an ego structure or third-dimensional belief system, you're gonna want with all of your heart money at the exact chapter of your life you don't need it. That's kind of the irony of everything I want with all of my heart is always at the time in my life I don't need it. And we've been going through incubation and learning how to live simply. How simple can I be? How much can I sustain myself on very little? Maybe you've been living in a life of very little communication with others, very little relationships, very little money, very little energy in your body. Maybe you've been exhausted. Sound familiar? Very little motivation. Incubation is how much you can survive on very little. And during those times, a lot of us are resonating with some very high teachings because we're learning how to surrender and say, even though I want it to look and feel different, there must be a bigger spiritual reality at play. I must have been put here by some intelligent force that is training me to be a master by learning to survive under these conditions. And you've been doing it to purge the carbon DNA, because the carbon DNA is the anchored energy of either threat or survival. And that's what you've been purging out of your field by living on very little energy, very little validation from others, very little abundance, right? Not able to go out and get a job and identify yourself with it, because you're working out the energy of threat and survival. And now as we turn towards the year of the initiated soul, 2015, we come into a point where we have hollowed out enough, we've cleared enough in the collective, we've cleared it out of the collective, so as we have the space to shine the energy, we've cleared enough in the collective so the collective has energy to absorb from us and to wake up in a way that creates a rippling effect of consciousness that allows this entire planet to know itself as one. And so in 2015, you will have the ability to live from your crystalline DNA. You will have the ability to manifest abundance. You will find that as long as what you are drawn towards is something you're excited about having, providing it's something that supports your ongoing evolution and doesn't distract from it, it will come to you immediately. And you'll find that the rule of thumb in abundance for an energetically sensitive soul is the things that you desire that come to you quickly is the universe saying this will complement your journey. And the things that don't is the universe's way of saying it will come to you, but it will only come to you when you've evolved to a level where it will complement your evolution, not distract you from it. So the rule of thumb in abundance in 2015 and beyond is if what I want isn't coming, it must be a distraction at this stage. As I continue to evolve, it will come to me in the moment when it will support my highest evolution. Because in 2015, we go from being cosmic janitors to light bearers of a heart-centered consciousness. So instead of being the one that has to constantly clear ourselves, clear the collective, watch ourselves, monitor ourselves, berate ourselves, that's what it turns into. I'm going to watch myself, which quickly becomes, I'm going to judge myself privately. I'm going to judge myself. That ends, and as light bearers of a new consciousness, our new role of bringing forth this new energy is the journey of initiation. Many of us have been going through initiations prior to this year, but 2015 is where, for a lot of us, the real deep initiations happen. And the deep initiations into fifth dimensional consciousness is where your need to understand, to keep straight or remember what you think you've learned, is surrendered for the opportunity to simply live as incarnated expressions of divine faith. Every step forward from 2015 and beyond is only how much more faith will you have. Faith does not come about as a result of understanding. Faith arises in the absence of understanding. It's not refusing to understand. That's called ignorance. It's saying, my highest wisdom comes to me. I don't go to it. And if it doesn't come to me, then whatever I know at this moment must only be what I need to know. And I have faith in knowing that every situation, circumstance, and predicament I'm put in is only an environment of a holographic nature feeling so real to me to put me in the environment that guarantees my arrival into my next highest level of consciousness. Therefore, whether I like it or not, what is happening to me through the eyes of faith could only be the best thing to ever happen to me. Now, you're living on a planet where you have to embrace that everything that happens to you is the best thing that ever can happen to you. It will help you evolve at the fastest rate. You don't have to like it. You don't have to pretend to like it. Because not liking it is a part of the evolution as you say, I have the right to not like it. That's part of acceptance. Acceptance is the willingness to say, I don't accept it. That's acceptance. It is the willingness to embrace your honest experience. Hey, look, I'm evolving at the fastest rate of speed. I'm a divine being coming to life. And I hate everyone. Don't be afraid of that, because that's honesty if it happens like that. Because when you're allowed to feel any which way and think any which way, what are you doing? You're freeing the collective of these judgments that say, we can't do that. Why do people erupt into unsavory behavior? Because they live in a mind that says they can't do that. So the year of the initiated soul is where your journey becomes a journey of faith. And that also means that you are going to learn to awaken and refine your inner guidance of intuition. And the way you awaken your inner guidance of intuition is trusting that every single thing that comes to you as a inspiration is the highest word of God, and you act upon it with no delay. Now here's the thing. In the beginning, not everything that comes to you is the highest wisdom of God. But here's the game. If you treat everything that comes to you as the highest wisdom of God, you are purging out of your field all the beliefs and self-doubt to refine your frequency so that everything that comes to you will be the highest authority of God. So the game of initiation is you have to act upon everything as if it's God's highest authority to refine your channel to bring forward only God's highest authority. Does that make sense? And if you try to do the inner work of clearing and purging, saying I'm not going to act on it till it's God's highest authority, you'll never get there. You'll be in carbon DNA forever until you make the leap and say, I surrender all my knowing, all my understanding, all my modalities, all my tricks, and I step into faith. The faith that says everything that happens to me doesn't have to be to my liking. I don't have to like it. I can hate it. Hands to the heavens. Middle fingers to the sky. Whatever you want. Whatever you want. Nonetheless, what's happening to you is putting you in the environment for your highest evolution to bring forth a light that you embody that awakens the light of consciousness in all. Therefore, what's occurring is the best and greatest thing that's ever happened to you. Just stay tuned and you'll look back and see how perfect it all was. And along the while, whatever comes to you as a thought or an inspiration, you act upon it. And there's a lot of spiritual beings who are still in the third dimension that go, oh, that's scary. I'm going to listen to the ego and it's going to take me on a wild goose chase. And if you believe there's something other than God called ego, you're living in the third dimensional paradigm, dressed up as a spiritual aspirant. You want to step into ascension? Everything that comes to you is the highest wisdom of God. Act upon it without delay. And the time of things coming to you that might seem foolish or self-destructive will be this much. When you declare that everything is the highest authority of God, the highest authority of God will come through you so fast because you've got to give your faith first. You've got to enter the kingdom first, and then all these things and more will be given to you. And 2015 is where we cultivate the strength, we discover the courage, we remember the passion, and we find the conviction to live and be fueled by faith, with only love for our own hearts to transform the entire planet, and the willingness to take one of the greatest thrill rides in the galaxy, and it's called Ascension. You have been prepared for this, and now it's where it begins. Everything up to this point has just been preparation. And there will be a lot of things happening in 2015. One of the reasons why I am not guided to talk about what you can expect to see in the world in 2015 is because as far as the first wave of ascension is concerned, we do not look at the worldly affairs to know where the vibration of the world is going. We look at only our behaviors, our responses, our perceptions to worldly affairs to tell us where the vibration's going. Because we're the ones bringing this energy to the planet. So if you look at worldly affairs, you're looking at a planet that's preparing to receive the energy that you're not embodying yet. Because 2015 is where that comes to life. So you can't look at the world and know where things are. You only look at yourself. And you'll have to let go of trying to keep track of a world. And whatever battlefield you're on, this company with their poisonous seeds, this agenda over here, what about this, what about that? Whenever you enter the fifth dimension, whether it's relationships ending, you're leaving a relationship that the other person wants to keep alive, you're part of a community that you just feel like it's time for yourself to part ways and go in a different direction. The weird thing about entering the fifth dimension is that in order for you to transcend this stage of threat and survival, is it feels like you're always either ignoring the world or turning your back on a planet. And you're not turning your back on anyone, you're turning to face the light of your highest truth. We've all tried in our incubation phase to match other people's vibration, then sweet talk them with spirituality to get them to evolve so we can feel better. And you've tried to walk side by side with your families and beings into the light. And what the fifth dimension is showing you is it will feel like there's so much on the line. It feels like I'm turning my back on life. It feels like I'm going in the wrong direction. But what's actually happening is that you are returning to the light by the power of your own authority. And you enter the light first, because you can't walk side by side with others into the light. You must go first, and the light that you radiate draws other people with you. You must lead by example. This isn't about staying here until everyone wakes up. You want the entire planet to wake up? Enter the light and become a light bearer of a heart-centered consciousness. We're not going to a new planet. We're not going to a new earth and waiting for everyone else to show up. It's not going to be like a party and we're the people that got there an hour early. Going, well, guess the earth is going to just, people are going to get here slowly. It's not like that. We're already in a fifth dimensional planet. We're just going through the phase of having all of our third dimensional goggles and blinders taken off. And this will be a journey that arrives with the activation of crystalline DNA. And by the way, when your crystalline DNA activates, it becomes a process of feeling lighter and lighter and lighter, but it does take a little bit of time to get used to it. Because you're no longer living as who you thought you were for most of your life. It sounds wonderful to say there's no threat and there's no sense of needing to survive and there's no threat. It's wonderful. It takes a little time to get used to. It's not just this activation and then you run around. It takes time to psychologically adjust because you're different. It will feel like, as it activates, who you were minutes ago, who you were days ago, who you were last week and months ago is a stranger to you. You'll know who everyone else is in your life. You won't know who you are. Remember, when you enter the fifth dimension, all understanding gets surrendered. so that you can enter solely by faith. In the fourth dimension, you have all the cosmic understanding, all the knowledge that you try to keep straight. And as you go to exit the fourth dimension for the fifth, you think, there's just a little bit more I need to understand before I can go, and you'll never get there. You're never going to know enough, ever. You're only going to know enough to have someone in my position help you surrender everything you know, so only faith can initiate you forward. And for a lot of us, we've spent so many time purging, clearing, healing, shifting, observing, witnessing, inquiring. We've spent so much time doing that, we actually need time to adjust to learning to live and be on a different level of a spiritual journey without doing those things so often. And sometimes it can feel like you have so much time you don't know what to do with yourself. It can lead to apathy, withdrawal, boredom, fear, anxiety. And a lot of that energetically is just all this new crystalline energy coming through, and I'm still looking for something to fix and shift and watch and keep track of. So it's an adjustment, it really is. And if we take it slowly, the slower we take this, the faster we accelerate. Because we're not going to miss this, we've already done it. We're just here to do it in a more joyful and conscious and heart-centered way. Do not look at the world to know where the planet is going. Your only proof of where the planet is going is looking to see where you're headed. And along this year of the initiated soul, the early indigos, the new indigos, the star seeds, the Pleiadian children, the crystal children as they're called, we all integrating in the first wave, and the crystalline energy and the indigo energy all mixes and matches together. One of the reasons, and I didn't know this until recently, why there's such a wide variety of people that come to our events and to our retreats is because while we're all here to receive the energy from the universe to help us raise our vibration for our mission, we're actually file swapping where crystalline children are with the indigos, and we're all like, here are the files I've gathered from my journeys. Here are the files I've gathered. We're all sharing so that we all come out of these gatherings and retreats more integrated. So it's not just the energy I'm providing you, it's the energy that we're sharing with one another while I radiate the energy. If you can only start to realize how magnificent of a journey we're on, that every single thing you do is not proof of being some infallible spiritual misfit, that you are always acting in accordance with the highest divine authority, that even though you have the freedom of will to do anything in existence, you will never act outside of the highest perfection of life's most supreme plan. That might bring you some relief. And as we unfold in our adventure, the year of the initiated soul, crystalline DNA gets activated, power gets reclaimed. We hold space in life and our relationships, radiating a new energy and not being pulled into the unresolved debris of others. Manifesting the kind of friendships and relationships where we can be on equal playing ground. Not just giving, and having the other person not know how to reflect that and hold that space for us. Manifesting loving relationships that are based upon heart-centered connections and deep and meaningful truths where we can actually celebrate love together by being totally honest, by being unguarded in the presence of our own divinity. Where we can manifest abundance, not so that we don't have to worry about having less, but just to bring your own vibration into tangible form by going through a series of initiations that 2015 will bring to you. And because 2015 through 2016, 17, 18, through 2019 is a very progressive journey. Now for people in the second wave of Ascension, a lot of people will be going through this incubation phase that you're coming out of. And part of the reason is that when these people in your family start going through this incubation, some of these deeper spiritual experiences, that they don't know what it is, as you are the anchor and light bearer of crystalline energy, you become one who can help guide them. Because now you know. And you don't have to actually guide them with words, your energy helps them along. And because everything happens in 5 or 7 year cycles, depending on what we're looking at, the next 5 years for the second wave of ascension is going to be where a spiritual reality rises to the forefront of most people's plans, whether they planned on it or not. For a lot of us, we've gone through that. So now we take the next step into a journey of faith, unconditional love, and where we're able to be as abundant and grounded in this world as we are spiritually aligned, based on the faith we bring forward, trusting every instinct as the highest authority of divine will. And because of how progressive this journey is going to be and how much energetic support we all need to ground this and to be guided through it in the most gentle, loving, and heart-centered way, is precisely why in the meetings I've had with the Galactic Council, I've created and constructed this next year's series of Angel Academy calls to be what they're going to be. We've come this far. We've done so much. We've been sitting around, like for a lot of us, like prisoners in a cell, scratching off dates in the calendar, waiting for our parole date. When's the excitement going to come? When are the ships going to land? And just as an aside to that question, instead of me telling you the date ships are going to land, I want to bring your attention to the fact that the planet you inhabit is one of the biggest ships in the galaxy. Earth is the mothership. So instead of waiting for ships to land, maybe remember that you're living on one. When angels in heaven want to go on a really exciting cruise vacation, this is the vessel. This is their love boat. Lots of activities, don't you think? It's not like, oh, we learned to square dance, learned to sew, took a cooking class. No, we shifted the collective unconsciousness. We activated crystalline DNA. We cleared lineages. This is the kind of cruise ship we were on, apparently. It's hilarious when you think of it like that. So this is a time when it is imperative that you learn to be gentle with yourself. Because the more spiritually rigid you are with the self, you're embracing these third-dimensional spiritual beliefs, and you're using spirituality as an excuse to anchor the energies of threat or survival. And it helps to disrespect the nature of your consciousness, to see that no matter what you think you're doing, whether you think it's the lowest vibrational choice you can make or whatever you think about it, you're actually doing everything you're doing to clear out judgments out of the collective that will occur throughout the duration of this year. And as of 2015, some of us, this has already happened. For some of us, it will start to happen in the next few weeks. For some of us, a few weeks after the dawning of the new year. But in this window of the new year, the year of the initiated soul begins to wake up inside of you. And all of a sudden, a more mature journey, a more heart-centered journey, a more faithful journey will dawn, where it's not what you understand that you can keep straight and even repeat to others. It's a matter of take everything you've learned up to this point and put it into action. And every person in your life that you want to correct and give them advice on what to do, whatever you would tell them to do, you do more often in your life. And enter this initiation phase and become in real form the master you've always been. We are shifting from incubation into initiation. And this is not where illusion disappears. This is your emergence into crystalline form. And in your experience, it's when you and everything finally becomes real. That's what it feels like when you enter the fifth dimension. When you're in crystalline DNA, it's like everything feels real. When you're waking up out of carbon DNA, when the spiritual experiences start to happen, it kind of has that feeling of everything feels surreal, like a dream, like nothing seemed real. You ever had that experience? That's waking up out of carbon DNA. But when you anchor crystalline DNA, no longer is anything an illusion. And all of a sudden, everything is real. Not real in a negative way, real as in the divinity within everything becomes more real than anything you've ever known. And this is when we come together as a unified field of heart-centered consciousness known as the first wave of ascension, whether as early indigos, new indigos, crystalline children, star seeds alike. And we all come together in faith in the supreme plan of what has already occurred and to bring forth a frequency that wakes up the world to a truth that is already alive and celebrating its magnificence, glory, and perfection as you are. So we are not bringing a planet to truth. Truth is bringing us across the threshold to the party that has always been. Even this moment, you taste the reality of crystalline energy. You taste the natural grace and ecstasy of your true self. And the only thing that will still be healed from now until the new year is that little voice or tendency that says, how do I hold on to it? How do I feel that more often? Those are the aspects of self that still need to be purged, that believe that they're a person trying to obtain spiritual insight, instead of being a living reality of insight, merely appearing human in form. And every single time we come together, whether soul gathering, full-day immersions, our retreats, or the Angel Academy that is all cleverly and specifically and mindfully designed to help you through the profound and radical and miraculous nature of what will begin in 2015 through 2019, so you can glean the most amount of benefit from it and use this time to manifest the life of your highest desires as a gift for all to wake up and realize their highest divine destiny. Every time we come together, new frequencies will be offered to assimilate into your new crystalline DNA, new teachings to bring to life aspirations that were dormant for so long, activation of abilities for you to move through time and space in a far more miraculous way. See, it's one thing to have a spiritual journey where you have a journey that gives you solutions to problems, and then once you no longer have problems, you no longer need that path. This path's different, because this path can assist you through all the problems, which is really just signposts of incubation. But once you reach this stage of initiation, this journey can actually take you beyond, because there's no end to how miraculous we can become. There's no end to how brightly we can shine. So we are waking up out of needing spirituality to be a problem-solving paradigm, and we're shifting into a reality where spirituality becomes a way of exploring the never-ending ecstasy of your own true nature. And I welcome you across that threshold to the most exciting time on this planet. Your contribution is essential. Your participation is vital. And as I've always said, the best is yet to come, and that best has come now. So welcome home. For some of us, this is a foreshadowing. For some of us, this is a confirmation. For some of us, this is the hope that becomes the light at the end of the tunnel. This is not where we say, yay, we've made it. Now we can have, now spirituality kind of falls by the wayside. No, this is where a new spirituality dawns and it comes to the forefront, not just of our lives, that we become consumed in spirituality and push away relationships, but that we allow this kind of spirituality to teach you how to recognize relationship building as your highest path of mastery. Because it's one thing to develop an understanding in private. It's another thing to bring that consciousness into the world, especially around people who don't want to hear about this. Who, if you say spiritual vocabulary words, they shut down. And those are players in your field who have been masterfully put there to help you become Buddhas and enlightened masters that say, embody what you know without using those words. See, that's helping you. So we don't talk about consciousness, we speak as consciousness. So welcome to your path of mastery. You'll never understand enough to cross that threshold. Every time you enter it, you always feel like, I don't know. I either don't buy it, I don't feel it. Rarely do we enter the path of mastery happy, open-hearted, and fancy-free. We all kind of just tumble through the doorway. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's how you enter. Because the invitation to the fifth dimension says, come as you are. So we come as we are. Because isn't that what faith is? You don't know what the hell this is, but you come as you are. See, that's the initiation. That's one of them, at least. And today's transmission is only the first step in our journey together. And as this group and community of heart-centered, energetically sensitive souls continues to grow and expand, it is only going to allow our capacity, our abilities, our magnificence to skyrocket. Because 2015 says, you no longer have to clear out the collective unconsciousness or wait for the rest of the world to wake up before you shine and prosper. Your incubation stage is complete. Now it's time to be initiated and to be masterful. And no, you're not turning your back on a world. You're leading by example so that the world can recognize the light you shine and find its way home by moving towards what you are here to anchor. This is where every spiritual prophecy becomes real. This is where your divinity becomes real. This is where your power, your potential, your dreams, your aspirations become real for no other reason but to show you how spectacularly your vibration can materialize into physical form, just to celebrate the master that you are.